Hello and welcome to the Life Galaxy podcast. I am your host Nina Bonti, and this is a podcast where we go and explore our inner world and our outer world. I want to start off with saying I'm here in beautiful Madeira Island in Portugal, such a magical, special place, and I'm here for a business retreat. I had the pleasure of being introduced to the awesome Mark Stuart. Thank you for coming and joining me here today.
It's my absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Mark. I have to tell you something. I'm a life skills teacher back in New York, and my students encourage me to go beyond the classroom. So I resigned from my job recently, and that's why I'm here. And my family member and mentor, Lata Seti, who by the way is going to be the next show, that's the next episode, encouraged me the whole time, even before I got here. So excited because she wanted me to meet you specifically. And Mark is an international producer, a dance choreographer, has an amazing entertainment background, and is an executive coach. And when I met you the other day at the party, we were doing this waltz. It was so fascinating. We were doing this waltz. Like, having a conversation with you is like being in a beautiful dance. And we're talking, and he's asking me a little bit about my life and the fact that I've been doing something called EleWAIting. That means I want to elevate. I want to be elevating, but I've been doing something called EleWAIting, which means I'm struggling to move to the next step and move beyond the classroom. So all of a sudden, we're doing this waltz, and you just spun me around. I felt like Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz. Like, oh my gosh, where am I? And after we had this conversation, Mark, I went back to my room, and I was pacing back and forth. I don't know what you did to me. I just kept pacing back and forth because you had asked me, well, why aren't you starting? Why aren't you going to leave this place without starting your talk show? So this is so exciting because this is the first episode of my talk show. And now I want to get to you. How did you transition from entertainment to executive coaching, or are you still doing both? I just want the viewers to know.
That's a great question. The transition was actually, I took this program called the Alt MBA that was designed by Seth Godin. It's a business leadership program. Mm-hmm. And I ended up coaching that program after I graduated, and that was my first dabble into the coaching world. But what the head of the program told me when she hired me was, I'm not hiring you to be a coach. I'm hiring you to be you. The way that you show up in the spaces you already show up in, mm-hmm. It's the same thing, I'm just using different words. So your question about transitioning, the truth is, I've always been doing the same thing. I just do it in more spaces now.
Kind of like it's the same thing, but different platforms, right? You're bringing your energy to different platforms.
Right. Producing, directing, even choreographing, executive coaching, consulting, even speaking and facilitating, all of which I do now. Mm-hmm. It's all about creating space mm-hmm. and holding up a mirror and a torch. And that's it.
Mark, another question I have for you. Here in this amazing business retreat, we've been meeting all types of people from all different paths of life. And it's fascinating because a lot of them, our world is so intertwined. It's like a big web.
Sure. Where,
different paths cross, but it's very like similar content. I want to ask you one question because as a life skills teacher, a lot of my students were learning about entrepreneurship. And part of my life skills series is a topic called etiquette. If you break that down further, we talk a lot about professional etiquette. I want to ask you, have you ever seen a person that was so dynamic, that was so interesting, but then there was like a deal breaker because of the lack of professional etiquette or professionalism? Has that ever happened to you? Where you kind of left a meeting and you were just like, maybe this behavior or this aspect of conversation kind of went in a different direction?
I guess in a way for me, that missing piece, which is always my red buzzer button, is vulnerability and eye contact. Mm-hmm. If another person can't look at you and see you mm-hmm. as a person and what you're experiencing, mm-hmm. then if you don't have that etiquette, yes. then we're done.
It's a lot about authenticity, I feel. There's one quick short story. Can I just tell you this?
Of course.
Because it's one of the most profound conversations that I've ever had with an adolescent. It was during a snack time where everybody was eating. All the kids were busy, throwing things, eating. Some of them could use some table etiquette, which we talk about. But this one student just raised his hand and he said, "Miss Bonte, I wish friends could be like dollar bills." And I said, "Elaborate, what do you mean by that?" He's like, "I wish, pretend this is a dollar bill." He's like, "I wish you can look at somebody and after talking to somebody, raise that dollar bill up, like a friend, raise the friend up and turn it around and see who's real and who's not. I wish that we can..."
Wow.
Isn't that profound? Such a profound moment because he was a student that was being bullied a lot. He was very talented, but just didn't have any friends. Wasn't really able to build any connections because there were trust issues there. So moving forward, going into the professional world, this idea of authenticity, I think, is key. And so what do you think distinguishes someone from being authentic or fake? And because that really determines who you want to invest in. Like you were saying earlier, somebody wants to invest in you, who you are, who Mark is. What do you feel about that?
I love that question. I think authenticity is someone who gives you the real answer, right? When we have conversations with people, our inner dialogue is multifaceted. There's a first response that wants to come out, even just to the question, "How are you?" "Oh yeah, I'm great." Is that the real answer though? Usually it's not,
Yeah.
right? So I find that the real answer is often the one that involves some type of struggle and being willing to admit that, because we're all human, we all struggle. So I think a big part of authenticity is being willing to be open about whatever it is the hard part.
It's a really great answer, part of being genuine, right?
Absolutely.
Because all of us have needs and wants in life, and I think if you're not able to express your needs, how can anyone help you, right? If I'm just acting as though everything is perfect and I'm a superstar, how can I have people help me? So here's another question as a teacher I want to ask you. I always tell my students before I meet them, the first day of school, everyone's ready, they got their backpacks going, their new shoes and everything. First thing I say to them, I welcome them to my class, and I say, "I'm not your first teacher. Even your kindergarten teacher was not your first teacher. Your first teachers are those people that raised you. Now, I want to ask you who your first teacher was in your family." And they could be good or bad, I'm just saying,
Well, my mom is actually a music teacher.
She is? Oh, okay.
So she was my first teacher, and to my absolute horror, she was also, when I was in elementary school, she was a substitute music teacher in my class on several occasions. Okay. She was a good music teacher.
Okay.
And she would not let you get away with anything. And when she walked in the room, you were like, "Oh, don't mess around with this woman." So she was my first teacher, and I learned a lot from her. I still learn a lot from her about curiosity, because I think what makes her, and always made her, such a great teacher is that she asks amazing questions.
I see. Those essential questions in life, which gets you thinking. And I think that's why that quality that, being under the tutelage of your mom, I think I can see that, because the first time I met you, you asked me a question, and I was telling others that why was I pacing back and forth? Why did Mark get me pacing back? Like, I don't do that, I'm usually the one that challenges everyone else. I think being an educator, sometimes we're the ones that are making assessments, creating assessments, and whether they're formative or summative, we're the ones always giving the tests and, the lessons. And I said, when I left that conversation, that dance that I had with you, I said, why am I feeling this way? I was almost uncomfortable. I'm like walking back and forth. I said, Mark challenged me. Nobody really challenges me. And so I think the questions that you asked me that night, it was almost like you just turned it around and framed it in a way that I was like, that question it just mesmerized me, And I think that's maybe something that your mom passed down to you, asking deep questions.
And sometimes it only takes one question that can be so simple, but open a door.
Absolutely.
So one of the questions I love in life is, what's the one question that you wish someone would ask you?
Are you asking me that question right now?
That's a great question.
I feel very vulnerable right now, Mark.
What's the one question you wish someone would ask you?
Why do I keep waiting? What am I waiting for? To live the life that I imagine myself to be in.
Seems to me like you're not anymore.
He got me out of the Matrix! Woo! Thank you for that. I want to ask you another question here. Who is the most intriguing person that made such a deep impact in your life, maybe, that you've ever met?
That I've ever met?
Yeah, who's the most intriguing? It might not be your most favorite person, but who is the most intriguing person you've met and why?
No one has ever asked me that.
So was the first?
The most intriguing person. The person that comes to mind, I don't know that intriguing, this may not answer the question you asked.
Okay.
You know, in show business, you meet a lot of different people. And we all have stories that we tell ourselves about people, and usually those stories are not reality. And growing up as a Star Wars fan, I ended up working on a film with Billy D. Williams.
Really?
And I've never been starstruck in my life, and I've met a lot of celebrities. And I met Billy D. Williams, and I couldn't talk. I was like, you're Lando Calrissian. Can't talk.
Speechless.
And he was just the coolest dude. The most down-to-earth, laid-back, cool, badass dude that was so unassuming and generous with his time and curious about humans. I thought, you're one of the most famous people in the world and will be forever. And if I had never seen Star Wars, I would never have thought you were a celebrity in any way, shape, or form. And that taught me a lot about how you show up in the world. Because it doesn't matter who you are, we're all just as worthy and just as valuable.
This is why I named this podcast the Life Galaxy Podcast. Because I believe that we're all part of the universe and we have different galaxies within our own system here. So it's like our work life, our home life, our professional life, our spiritual life. These are all galaxies within ourselves. And then we also go into other people's worlds. So to be able to be so welcomed into his world for a little bit and his time and be in his universe for a little bit, it's very special when there's humility involved. Because I think oftentimes, especially being from New York and working in the entertainment industry as well, you know, sometimes egos are inflated.
Yeah.
Oftentimes. And it doesn't have to be just in the entertainment industry, but I think lacking humility sometimes is a great obstacle for somebody's growth. So I think that's
Absolutely.
so special that he was engaging and really made you feel good.
I'd also offer a second answer, which is the most intriguing person I meet every day is the next person.
Oh, that is such a beautiful answer. Wow.
Because everyone is so unique and has such incredible texture to their life and their story and their heart. And it's so powerful and exciting and inspiring to get to learn about that.
It's beautiful. Because it's again, like stepping into someone else's world, a place that you've never traveled to before.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You know, I often call, sometimes maybe the way I see the world, it's like, you know, we have a passport. And of course, we're here at this retreat with digital nomads, so we all have something in common. We want to travel the world, we want to explore, we want to meet new connections and people. But in order to be in your inner world, I call it the passport. Because we have to, also, if you're going into your own galaxies and your inner world, you need your passport to go into your past and really understand yourself and who you are in this world. Because oftentimes young people, and I think even adults too, I think this resonates with adults, people are unsure of themselves. It's because they didn't go inside and really figure themselves out. And I think it's so important to love yourself and love all the experiences and the journeys that you've been to, and then to be able to meet someone like you. You said your next favorite, most intriguing person is the next person. So once we do that inner work, that allows us the confidence to speak to others and share our journeys. That's a really
Sometimes we get more confidence from learning about other people's journeys.
Absolutely.
You know?
Okay, so this is the last part of the interview, which I like everyone to ask. It's Miss B's life advice. You can ask me anything that you'd like, any question, because I'm always the one asking questions. So as a life skills teacher, sometimes, I talk about home life and work life and healthy life. And do you have any questions for me? Miss B's life advice.
What's the one choice you need to make that you're not making?
Oh, that's a deep question. That's loaded. I think I need a journal for that one. What's the one choice that
Let me add more context.
Okay.
What's the one choice you need to make that you're not making? And what is your answer in 10 seconds or less?
It's one choice that I'm making that I'm not making. The one choice is, I believe it's how to start my business. Because there's so many different ways and so many different platforms I can go. Because I'm entering this new space, the choice that I need to make right now is when I get back to New York, this beautiful island, I need to make that choice of where I'm going first. Putting my energy more so in the podcast or more so in developing online software. That's my choice that I need to make. Like which one am I doing first?
Which one are you doing first?
I already answered this. This is where he spins me. I think I started the talk show.
Fascinating.
This is great. This is what he does. Do you see what okay, at least we got it on video. Mark, thank you so much.
My absolute pleasure.
I always tell everyone time is gold. We can get anything in life, right? New friends, money, travels, everything. But the one thing that we cannot get back is time. So I want to thank you so much for your time today. And I hope that we get to share many more memories with our passports.
I'm
one day.
positive we will.
Thank you. And I know we're huggers, so I'm going to give you
Oh, come on.
Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it. All right. Thank you.
And congratulations on your first show.
This
Tune
is
in
my
for the next.
first show. So exciting. So exciting.
And prepare your
Thank
questions
you.
for Ask Miss B.
Thank you, Mark. That was amazing.
You're welcome.
I'm just so honored that you
My
that
pleasure.
you did this for me and you got me from the stage, seriously, of EleWAIting to elevating.
I love that word.
You would love coming to my class. My kids are always I try to be funny sometimes, I don't know if I really am, but EleWAIting is a serious issue I've had my whole life.